Welcome to Passionate World Talk Radio. Educate, enlighten, and entertain. Thank you for joining us on the most important 15 minutes of your day, where we share expert information on safety and preparedness that you can use in your everyday life. I'm Shannon Zeman, and I'm so thrilled that you're here with me for our show today. To screen time or not? That is the question. In today's world of online schooling, our children are in front of the computer screen for more than 6 hours a day. Social media is a big part of many teens' lives, which increase their screen time hours, along with sometimes consuming their lives. Social media use can negatively affect teens, distract them, disrupt their sleep, and expose them to bullying, rumor spreading, unrealistic views of other people's lives, and peer pressure. Joining us today is my friend, Vlad Anderson. It's like a tongue twister.
It is.
You got me all messed up. He is a proud veteran of the United States Marine Corps and retired law enforcement officer. He has over 28 years experience as a police officer, and he's held such jobs as patrol officer, motor and traffic officer, background investigator, threat assessment expert, and detective. You've been busy.
Yes, I have.
Vlad was also a school resource officer for over 10 years before he retired from the police department and is now working in the private sector as a child welfare and attendance investigator. One of his expertise is informing our communities on current trends impacting youth in the world today. And that is why I invited Vlad today to join us, and he's going to share with us his expert knowledge on the impact of social media use and what it's having on our teens today, and how we can hopefully safeguard them from this negative impact. So thank you so much for being here today, Vlad. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Shannon.
Yes. So I have two teen boys, and they always want to get on their cell phones, their video consoles, their computers to watch YouTube. Mm-hmm. And we actually just watched the documentary Social Dilemma, which really opened my eyes to social media impact and everything. And I've also read a couple studies, and they indicate that there's such negative effects on our kids today dealing with social media and screen time. So I was wondering if you could explain some of those negative effects to us.
Certainly, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I think we need to understand first and foremost that social media and the vehicle, the internet, is here to stay, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. And back in the day, 15 years ago, when we talked about social media, we talked about restricting the use, and quite frankly, what we have to do now is mitigate our exposure to that vehicle. It is here to stay, and there's no way around it. The horse has kind of left the barn.
Yeah.
So, so knowing that, there are some implications for excessive use, and again, based on the makeup of each individual child, each individual student that we have on campus, we need to realize what negative implications can impact them in the future. We need to know our own kids and have conversations about what how they're involved in social media, what's impacting them, how kids are communicating, and certainly what kind of challenges is imposing upon them. Mm-hmm. Certainly, we're living right now with distance learning. And it's something that is not going away. It's the only way to provide information and education and the academic perspective to the children. And we need it, quite frankly. But we also need to understand that along with education comes the aspect of socialization, and that is the only vehicle that they have now. Mm-hmm. So they have to interact together, but again, in a healthy, productive way. Mm-hmm. Excess, it is quite frankly creates addiction, and with addiction you come across some other issues as well.
Okay. And so are you seeing children being affected like with mental health or being physically healthy, even self-esteem or like sleep issues?
Yes, sleep certainly is impacting them. We hear about the light sources that it provides, and certainly they sleep at nighttime, wake up and pick up their phone for the first thing is the first object that they get from the dresser rather than the alarm, and often in case it is the alarm, and it creates and provides a stimulus that is unnecessarily, quite frankly, for children who are developing physically at that age. Certainly, the aspect of addiction plays a role, and the unnecessary and excessive use of any substance, as you well know.
Right. Yes, we feel that in our house, especially with my 17-year-old. Social media has become more of an addiction for him to get on his screens or anything like that. So I think that's really a real thing, is the addiction aspect of it. Like I never thought about it before. So I think that's really interesting. So with all of your vast experience with high school age kids, why is social media so dangerous to teens?
It provides to them an unrealistic platform for communication and social structure. They feel that they have the inability to read body language, for example. And you would sometimes talk to someone face to face and see their reaction and whether they're pleased or not. It provides them with a platform where now there's no one questioning their behavior and what they're saying, what they're spouting out of their mouth. And that, quite frankly, that platform is unrealistic, number one, because we don't interact in that fashion, and it creates to the recipient some information on some input that is, quite frankly, negative and how should I say it, and hurtful. And because, again, we are incapable of looking at the screen and seeing how the other person is responding.
Right.
And the other aspect, we talked about gaming. Unfortunately, gaming provides a couple of challenges, and if mitigated appropriately, is a great. I'm not into gaming, unfortunately, but for those that like that entertainment value, it is a great source. But gaming, there are certain some folks that are attracted to young people that go into that platform for the specific intent of attracting young male and females. And that's something that we need to be aware of. And it's not just going out there and participating in a game. Is actually a little more than that. Certainly, there's the other aspect of and challenges of the stimulus that is received from participating in that game day in and day out. And you find sometimes where they're incapable young people who are developing their brains and other functions to decipher whether that is helpful or not. There's no limit to it. I mean, they feel that that information is limitless, and it, quite frankly, it provides an unrealistic view of life. Because what do they do when they lose in life? They reset. They hit the reset button, right? In real life, it's not that way,
right?
As you well know, in real life, there's pain, there's discomfort. There are all the things
there's sorrow.
The sorrow,
right?
sorrow, absolutely. And in gaming, they don't feel that, and they like the stimulus. They enjoy it, and they enjoy participating in it. When, quite frankly, is an unrealistic setting.
Well, and I know also for my boys, because unfortunately my household loves, except for me, video games, and I think it's also desensitized the children in not only emotionally, like we say, sorrow or feeling bad for an action or things like that, but also violence, I feel also.
Right, and I had a discussion with some educators, and they disagreed because they were fans of gaming. But certainly, when you go out there and play soccer, let's say, okay, you go out there, you take a fall, you understand that you got to overcome those challenges, and now continue on not only physically but build up an expertise and things of that nature.
Right.
With gaming, there's none of that.
Yeah.
The exertion that you once felt in the field is no longer, and it really, I think, it makes us a little more susceptible to pain and sorrow and those and those aspects of those social aspects that did not exist before. It's kind of different than what I talked about previously, but yes. Gaming, it creates different parameters and different experiences.
Right. I'm not gonna lie. I do love it when I'm on Instagram and my girlfriends take a picture with Instagram and it's like all my wrinkles disappear and we look like we're 20 again. But it's not realistic in the fact of what our kids are looking at. Even for we got to be proud of the blemishes or wrinkles or things that we get on our face sometimes too. So how you were saying that's unrealistic. So with the children spending, on distance learning, spending so much time online school and everything, is this harming our kids? Because it's kind of a two-part question. Is it harming our kids because they've heard we should be limiting their time on computers and social media, but now we're demanding them to spend an exorbitant amount of time on the computer?
Certainly, and that's an excellent question, because again, we want to limit the exposure to that vehicle, to that platform, but yet with COVID and the issues that we're encountering now, I mean, we're very limited in options, right. And it is important for that setting, that educational platform, because it provides two opportunities for the young individual. Number one, the academic setting, and number two, the social aspect of it. And although the social aspect is limited by the Zoom platform, seeing friends and seeing reaction and seeing those things are important in the makeup of an individual. And certainly it contributes. What I'm seeing in some circles is that some kids want that interaction so much that they're punctual in being in Zoom class because they want to see their friends.
Yes.
And again, we're very limited, unfortunately, because of COVID and what's happening with that. But it's certainly the academic perspective is important. That interaction is important for all of us, and parents and children alike. And and we need to have it.
I agree with you, and that's where I really hope we can start having more social interaction and getting our kids back interacting with each other on sports and everything. Is there, in any studies that you've done, that you've heard on what we should limit our kids to? I know we don't have the choice on computer time when they're at school doing it from, but what is there a certain number that we should be watching for social media or YouTube or things like that?
Well, prior to our current state, right, people were requesting and offering 2 to 4 hours, 2 to 4, just like television. In our generation, when we sat and watched TV, we were limited to 2 to 4 hours.
Right.
And at the time, with the cell phones and computers and YouTube, we were encouraging, hey, you know what? We understand that there's a need for it, but let's limit that to 2 to 4 hours. However, now, because of the conditions that we're facing, right, I would suggest that parents continually monitor their children and make the appropriate changes if they see something alarming. because every kid is, quite frankly, different. I was talking to a kid who has some challenges, some social challenges, and they love the setting in Zoom.
Yeah, I heard that.
They love the setting in Zoom. However, the interaction is important.
Yeah.
It creates other opportunities, and certainly we want to expose kids to those challenges, to the having to interact and say thank you and look at people in the eye and shake hands. Oh, I don't know how we're gonna go in the future. Right, maybe we're gonna be bowing. Maybe we'll do like the Japanese or what they do in Asia, and that's okay. But that social interaction is very, very important.
I agree. I'm very social. My kids are very social, and we are all dying of this disconnect.
And we all are.
Yeah.
We all are. We all have seen this, encountering some difficulties.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you, Vlad, so much for being here. Unfortunately, we're out of time, and he has so much more information. So would you come back another time?
I would love to.
Yay. I would love it, too. He's got so much information, gave us some amazing takeaways for us to think about and watch with our children with social media, and not only the kids, but I got a lot of takeaways for today from just personally. So I want you to think, and have you ever been in a situation where a stranger is making you uncomfortable and they won't leave you alone and wonder, how could I have avoided this situation, or how should I react? Well, be here next week when Kelly Sayer, the founder and president of the Diamond Arrow Group, joins me to talk about tools you can use to heighten your situational awareness and what to do if you find yourself facing conflict. It's going to be really interesting. So thank you so much for listening to Passionate World Talk Radio. You've just been listening to the most important 15 minutes of your day with me, Shannon Zeman. You can listen to my podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much for joining me. And remember, with knowledge, you have the power.